Guys, we're back for another exciting episode of the Hashtag Wednesday Match Play, and I am pumped for tonight's guest because I'm gonna go back to a guest we had on this show a while ago, Peter Flanagan. He's a good friend of mine. I've had the chance to play some golf with the guy, and he is, and I say this lightly, obsessed with playing Coore Crenshaw golf course designs. And we don't have Coore Crenshaw with us this evening, but we're almost there. We're pretty close because we have a guy that works for Coore Crenshaw, and I'm going to be curious to learn a little bit more about what this guy's job title is, because when I first read it, I was like, wait a minute, what's he do? So basically he's a shaper, and we're going to learn more about what that means, because this guy has a ridiculously impressive resume. He's been all over the world shaping, and I'm going to learn what that means tonight and share that with all of you. So tonight's episode of the Hashtag Wednesday Match Play, presented by Eat Sleep Golf, is going to be packed with a lot of questions. It's going to be packed with the front nine, and I'm going to recap this for a few more weeks just until everybody gets comfortable with the new format. So the front nine, it's all technical. It's all business. We're going to talk about things that relate to this guy's career, what he does, who he works for, and all that. And then we get to the fun stuff, the back nine. We've had the back nine since the show started. But tonight we got a couple of fun questions. Tiger's going to come up a couple of times in tonight's show. I bet you know where it's going to happen once, but we got another question or two about Tiger thrown in the mix. So now I don't know what shaping means, and I'm not going to pretend to know. I'm going to guess that he's like out there and like moving dirt. I don't know. So versus me trying to explain it, let's welcome Trevor Dormer to the Hashtag Wednesday Match Play.
Right on. Thanks a lot for having me. This is great. A really good format. So.
Awesome, man. Well, we had some time to chat before we went live here, so I'm excited to get to know more about you and what you do with your career. So I did tell you that about an hour before we jumped on this call, I didn't know who you were. I didn't. I've learned a bunch since. Excited to learn more, and we're going to start with the elevator pitch. Give us an elevator pitch of who you are, what you do, and explain to me what the heck you do. Like, it sounds fun. You're in there in the dirt, helping build golf courses, but give us the elevator pitch of who you are, what you do, and what you're all about.
All right. Well, basically what I do is I craft golf courses. I work with designers, like Coore Crenshaw and a few other ones in the past, like Jack Nicklaus Designs and Gary Player Designs and a few others. And so basically what they do is they come out and they want to see a concept of basically what we can get for a golf hole. So they either hand me a set of plans and I get in my bulldozer or my excavator and I just start carving the dirt out and push it up into what you see grassed, but in dirt. And then we put on the extra layers, like either the sand cap or the topsoil, and then a superintendent grows it in and gets it so that you can play golf on it. So there's lots of different ways that each designer works. Some work specifically with computer-aided designs, and then other ones like Bill Coore and Ben Crenshaw, they come out there and they walk the land and they figure out whether or not a golf hole fits good there, and whether a good green site is at a certain place there. And working with them, we tend to move minimal amounts of dirt. So it's just lay of the land, really good natural golf, and try and, just build it as fun, and in an efficient way possible. So
this is not one of your questions, but how did you get into this?
Well, there's different ways, but I lucked out. I didn't know what I wanted to do after high school, and my cousin was a construction superintendent at a golf course being built in Victoria, BC, on Vancouver Island. And I asked him for a job, and he's like, yeah, you can start on a shovel. And from there, I got to work with the Nicklaus Design representatives there. They're shapers, guys that have had 20 to 30 years in the business and shaping, building golf course, all of Nicklaus's courses. I mean, Nicklaus has built hundreds of courses all around the world. And from there you meet, those guys. And then after that project's done, and if they like you, then they, one of them asks you to come help them out on their other project. And so about a year or two after that, I got a call out of the blue from a Nicholas representative to help out on a project in Russia, just north of Moscow. And yeah, I was 22 years old, and I just was like, yep, I'll go. You guys are paying me. And yeah, and then you just eventually meet more guys, and then you meet more design firms and architects. And, you know, once you get the hang of it and do good work, then you tend to keep working. So yeah, and then I've just kept kind of moving along in contacts and you know, there was I guess it would have been 4 or 5 years ago, a little switch that I had, and I wanted to actually seek out some of the best guys in the business and learn from them. And that was, in my opinion, Bill Coore and Ben Crenshaw and Tom Doak and Gil Hans and his partner Jim Wagner, and you know, there's many more, Rob Collins and Tad King. And yeah, so I just started, you know, sending out emails, and eventually I kind of you know, a few of those guys that I really liked got back to me, and they were from Coore Crenshaw and from Gil Hans and Jim Wagner. And yeah, and then you just go kind of project to project from there. So, and I've been fortunate to have stuck with Coore Crenshaw for it would be 3 different projects now, or 2 projects plus another side project for the same client in Japan. And yeah, just kind of see how their work comes up, and usually get a call, or if they're busy, and if you don't, then they're a little bit slow, and you contact the other guys that you like working with. So, and that's, in a nutshell, that kind of is how it goes. And
wow, that's really cool. So, how closely do you work with these guys? Like, I mean, are they Coore Crenshaw out there, boots on the ground, or like, are they just trusting your efforts, or kind of what's that look like for those guys?
Well, with Bill and Ben, they have a great, fantastic way to build golf courses. They have a team of guys that have been working for them for, some of them are 25 to 30 years since they've been a design firm. And they kind of come out and walk the land with these guys, and they portray their concepts and how they want golf holes to fit. And Bill draws some sketches, Ben draws some sketches, and they're either really detailed if they are really specific on, say, a green site. But most of the times when I've worked with them, it's been a sketch of how the green should look, and the bunker on the right, you know, bunker on the left, 30 yards short. And then they say, have fun with it. So you get in your bulldozer, you get in your excavator, and you just interpret their sketch and how you think that they would like that piece of land or green site or bunker to look. And then they'll come back around later and say, that's great. Or, you know, hey, let's do a couple tweaks, or that's not at all what I wanted, but it looks good, let's keep it. So that's kind of how they work, and they are, you know, boots on the ground. Bill Coore, Ben Crenshaw's partner, and I'm sure Ben does too. He's, I think, in his early 70s, and he can outwalk most people that I know, most of the guys on the machines. He'll walk when he's on site doing the design and looking at things. He'll walk 36 holes a day, no problem. And some of those are hard. It's not like walking on grass. It's like through mud, over stumps, you know, and around creeks and stuff like that. And so they're really hands-on when it comes to their designs. So I don't think they do much with like AutoCAD plans. I don't think that they have a guy that does that. I think it's all by feel and just walking the land constantly. And that's been my philosophy for however many years now. And that's why I wanted to work with them, is just because I think that's the best way to build a golf course.
Yeah, that's really cool.
The old architects from the golden age in the early 1900s, that's how they did it. You know, they walked the land and they just crafted it and or had people that they trusted to do it. So, and that's a lot of how, I mean, the core group of guys that work for Bill and Ben are, you know, 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years with the firm. And, you know, I think Bill and Ben trust all of those guys, you know, as much as they can. And they produce some of the best golf courses in America, if not the world, in my opinion. So, and I've only been working with them for since 2014. So I'm kind of one of the younger guys new to it. And yeah, but it's been great. It's been fantastic so far. A few really interesting projects in Cape Breton, up in Nova Scotia called Cabot Cliffs, and then another really interesting project in Yokohama, Japan. Really cool old course down there that I got to help out on. And yeah, we'll see what happens in the future. So
I have to assume that you're not taking your machines with you. I mean, do they work with you to get what you need, or do they tell you what you're going to use? Like, you're working with some pretty heavy machinery here. So as you being the shaper, like, what's that process look like?
Yeah, well, usually with Coore Crenshaw, they have a project manager / design associate that lines up a lot of that stuff. Or in the past, I've lined up the machines that I need for the certain project. Sometimes you only do like a small, you know, greens or the bunkers around the greens, so you don't need a big bulldozer, or it's minimal impact. And then sometimes when you're building brand new, you need like massive bulldozers to move some earth, or just little small bulldozers and excavators and tractors and stuff. And so usually there's a designated guy that is either appointed by the contractor or with Coore Crenshaw to, you know, get the machinery that we need to, you know, best do our job. So, yeah. And usually, like, if you're in other countries, you know, sometimes it's really hard to get that equipment. Like in Russia, it was just very tough to get like a little Bobcat or a skid steer to even do any of the little fine tuning stuff. So each country has its challenges on, you know, with the equipment and the specialty stuff that we need, and that we're like, we're so spoiled here in Canada and the US, like, you can get anything. It's such a, you know, there's so many golf courses and so many specialized equipment dealers that they can get it to you, you know, overnight if you want it. So if you don't have it. So yeah.
What's the dream project for you? I mean, do you have one?
A dream project for me is just, you know, nothing super big. Just, you know, I'd like to design my own course and work with some of the guys that I have, you know, worked with in the past. Some of the really cool, interesting guys, you know, that I hang out with, and we have fun building golf courses. So for me, it's just a nice piece of rolling land with interesting textures of grasses and shrubs and trees, and sand. Sand is by far the best. That's a dream project.
Sand is not the best when you hit your ball into it. I played 9 holes tonight, and I may or may not have had a double because of sand. So thank you very much. I went into the sand, over the green, back over the green, and then I missed the putt. I don't want to talk about it. So you mentioned Russia, you mentioned Japan. You've been to some pretty cool places. What are some of the most memorable places that you visited, and what's it like when working in some of these foreign countries?
Well, that's kind of a tough question because the countries that I've been to have been the kind of the young guy will go there. They haven't been like the Hawaii's or the Bermudas or the Caribbean, beautiful places to build a golf course. They've been um, in Russia. It was like either the second or third course to be built in that country at that time, after the Moscow Golf and Country Club. So it was a challenge, and so building those courses building that course in Russia was just challenging because no one knew what golf was. It was the elitist Muscovites that would play this course, and so that was just a big challenge. And then it's always the language barrier. So I always make a point of trying to learn something, and it usually turns into construction talk, like, please, sir, bring me the sand over here, and we will dump it in this area. It's so broken, but you have to try and get by, and a lot of hand waving and stuff like that. And the Middle East was I did a project in a country called Bahrain, called the Royal Golf Club. That would have been in, I think, 2008. They actually won, I think, 2013 Troon Golf Facility of the Year award.
Yes, they did.
Correct. I heard about that a little while ago. So
I wanted to make sure that you knew the connection to Troon, so you do. Yeah, love that.
Yeah, and so that was that was building a course from absolutely nothing, like no vegetation out there. It was an older course that was 18 holes compacted into what the new 9 holes was, and then we added another 9 to make it a full championship 18-hole course. And the European Tour played on it, I think. I think that might have been 2011 or something like that. But those days out there were, in the summer, it's I don't know what this would be in Fahrenheit, but 55 degrees Celsius and 90% humidity.
It's hot and it's humid.
Oh man, it's horrible. And so you're trying to like slog through a day, 10 hours, 11 hours of a day, just sweating out there. No matter how good your AC is in your bulldozer or excavator, it just doesn't do it any justice to even keep you somewhat cool. And yeah, I guess Japan was really interesting. Some of the best transit systems in the world. The trains are to the minute. How they move people around in that country is unbelievable. That I think most countries should learn from. And the course out there is really cool. It's going to be hosting actually this year the Japan Open. So it should be interesting to see some good players. I got to see Hideki play out there last year, and man, that guy's. I feel like I'm a pretty big guy. That guy's a big guy for a Japanese guy, and he can hit it like it's unreal. So yeah, I think those are kind of and then I've done some domestic stuff in Canada, and as I said, up in Cape Breton, in Nova Scotia there, and the culture. I'm from the West, in the mountains in BC, and it's such a different culture, very Scottish culture out there in Cape Breton that I didn't even know, and it's in my own country. So yeah, and then I've done a little bit of development work down in Africa. Nothing really to do with golf course stuff, but yeah, it's just traveling. I really love traveling. It's fun, and I'm lucky my wife loves it just as much, if not more, than I do. Sometimes she pushes me to go see these places that I'm like, I don't want to go there. So, but yeah, no, there's more. There's going to be more. We're not going to stop. We're going to keep traveling as much as we can, and yeah, see as much as we as we can while we got some youth to us.
So you mentioned Bahrain. Tarun actually manages a lot of golf courses in the UAE. We got a bunch in Dubai. We have 2 in Abu Dhabi. That one in Bahrain. We have the only golf course in Ajman, and that's a growing population for golf and golf tourism. So I've not been there yet, but one of these days I'm just going to buy a plane ticket and go and just play some golf and see some friends. I know people that live there and work there, and we have a Troon corporate office there, so it would be nice to get over and see some of those folks. And DJ Flanders and Lisa Cole work in the corporate office. Then I mean, DJ's never there; he's all over the world traveling, so he might not even be there. But I'm gonna make it over there one of these days. So
Yeah.
Speaking of Dubai, you had the chance to follow Tiger while in Dubai. I told you Tiger was going to come up a couple of times in this conversation. Tell us what that was, what event that was, and what it was like following the GOAT around.
Oh, it was unreal. It would have been in, I think, 2008, the Desert Classic at the Emirates Golf Club. And
Not true, but I won't hold it against them.
And so obviously the clubs knew each other, and a few of my friends and the guys that I worked with, they knew the superintendent really well, Craig. And so we went over there for the weekend to go check it out. And yeah, it was interesting. If I remember right, Tiger was back quite a bit, going into the third round, and then I've never seen a golfer put it into high gear, because Ernie Els was walking away with it. He was just hitting really good shots and making really good putts. And Tiger, he switched a gear that was just unreal to see, and he just came back. And when he walked off, he knew he had some work to do in the final round, and he walked off the 18th green on the third day, and it was getting close to dark, and he walked straight onto the range, and he just started smashing balls, and they blocked it all off so he could focus and put up the lights and stuff like that. And it was unreal. And then the next day he just made a charge, and it was so interesting from a spectator's standpoint, to where everyone's spread out watching, Sergio or watching, the other great players that you're watching. And then you hear roars from across the golf course, and roar after roar. And pretty soon everyone is starting to migrate towards where this noise is coming from. And sure enough, it's Tiger. And he came out and he took it. And yeah, it was really something to see. Well, you would have known in 2008 what, part of his prime, or if, how good he was at that point, since you're such a Tiger fan. But, I think he was up there at that point. And, so yeah, it was just really, really interesting and fun to watch. And like being in the clubhouse and sitting there, I was telling Scott that we were sitting in the clubhouse waiting for, just waiting to walk out, and Tiger's hitting putts on the practice green, and a young 24-year-old punk just sitting there, and Tiger puts his bag within arm's reach. And so tempting to just, just pet the Tiger, right? But
his name is Frank. Thank you very much.
But it was cool to be that close, and to watch the discipline that Tiger has, and just his methodology. It was really interesting. I never really thought about it much back then, and now as I'm older, I think of those memories from back then, and it's very inspiring to see the guy. He's obviously had ups and downs in his career, but he still got that. He still has that discipline and drive that you can see it, today or a few days ago or last week.
This week, I can promise you that, because today, I honestly think that he's back, and there's no question he's back. I mean, what he did not long ago at Innisbrook, and the guy's not done, and I hope that he gets 5-7 more years because he's good for golf and he's good for me because I have a Tiger Woods collection that is worth nothing if he doesn't break some of these records. So I need for him to show up and start winning some golf tournaments.
Yeah, well, you can't deny that he's not good for golf. I mean, I don't know how he did it, but he had a 129 mile an hour swing speed.
It's faster than anybody else on tour right now, pretty much.
Yeah, and he's
and just think, a few months ago he couldn't even stand up.
Yeah. So what's I don't know. I mean, he's got more in him, that's for sure. And I mean, like the ratings, for the last tournament,
the
roof. It's like, so no one can deny he's good for golf, and he's just fun to watch. He's, you're right. He is. He's just a spectacle to see. That's for sure.
What projects are you working on right now? This is the final question of your front nine, so we're about ready to have some fun here when we go to the back nine. But we got a quick par four before we jump to the back nine. So, what project are you currently working on?
Well, right now I've just had a little bit of time off since coming back from Japan, so I've just been spending it with my family. But hopefully within the next few weeks, pending work visas and stuff like that, my wife and I and my two little sons are going to be packing up and moving to Thailand. So there's a project just outside of Bangkok that Gil Hans and Jim Wagner are doing, and it's the same owner as the owner in Japan that we worked with before. So they've kind of asked me to lend a hand out there, and it's going to be a Seth Rayner and CB McDonald inspired course. So yeah, no, it's going to be fun. 18 holes and a few. There might be a putting course and a driving range as well. So nothing too crazy, but yeah, it should be good.
That's cool, man. All right, let's have some fun. Now, the back nine is going to go by quick, but that's okay because it's still about you, but we're going to get a little outside of the realm of shaping golf courses. So, you ready for your back nine?
Yeah.
Not including courses that you've worked on, what is your favorite golf course you've ever played?
Ooh, favorite golf course I've ever played. I would say that I really like Cabot Links, which is the Rod Whitman first break ground course out there in Cape Breton. And I'm a little bit biased because while we were building the Cliffs course, we could jump over and play some sneaky 8-9 hole loop, crossing across the course and hitting up other, not the full 18, but and just get to hit shots because usually we were like the last guys out on the course. And it's such a fun, fast and firm link style course in Canada. And we don't have that many courses like that where, you put your wedge down you just slam your wedge down on the fairway and you can hear it. Like it's so rock hard during the summer, and it's just fun to see how the ball reacts rather than, the aerial game where where it's going to stick and land. You tend to play a different style of golf when you're out there and try and be more creative, like hitting just fun bump and run shots onto the green or using your putter from 50 yards out. It's amazing. That's the style of golf that I like. So
nice. So my buddy Peter, he's obsessed with Coore Crenshaw. He's trying to play all of their designs, and there's one design, Cypress Point, that eludes him, so to speak. So, having worked with Coore Crenshaw for so many years, any hints on how he can get on the golf course, Cypress?
Well, if you show up before dark and sneak on before anyone else gets there, that's probably a good start. To tell you the truth, I don't know. I mean, I tend, when I want to go and see really private clubs like that, I tend to just ask to walk it and study the architecture and, just get a feel of it without playing it. And sometimes those clubs just say, hey, we we got an opening. Maybe you'd like to join such and such a member. So for me, when I get a chance to go to a place like Cyprus, it's tough for me to even want to play it, because the architecture for me is more important in that aspect. Whereas if I'm playing the game, I'm thinking about my score and I'm not really paying attention to all the nuances that Cypress Point has. It's a special piece of ground that it's a museum piece, that I'm thankful people are still playing it and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I got nothing.
That's all right, Peter. Peter, if you're watching this, make sure that you just sneak on and don't tell anybody, and bring out your flashlight. You'll be fine. So the Masters is right around the corner. I mean, I have to assume you know who I think is going to win. Who do you think is going to win?
Well,
just say Tiger, and we'll move on to the next question.
For me, the Masters is always one of those tournaments that is so. You really can't. It's hard to tell. Like, Spieth, like he's. You see these guys and they're playing it, and you think they got it dialed, and then it just they fall back, So it's always hard each year. I mean, even Sergio, he could try and make another run for it, but I don't know. It's so tough to even, predict that. But I'd love to see Tiger win it.
That's the good answer right there. There are a lot of them. What is your favorite golf movie?
Ooh, I'm a Happy Gilmore fan, big time. I don't know. It's got that. I'm not a huge fan of all of Sandler's movies, but some of those things, the skits in that movie just make me laugh. And it's just, yeah, they got all the good characters in there. So
on my blog, I interview a lot of bands, DJs, and one of the questions I ask a lot is, do you ever make a mistake on stage? So you out there shaving golf courses, driving bulldozers around and putting sand in places that golfers don't want you to put it. Do you ever make a mistake? And if so, what kinds of mistakes do you make in your position?
Well, it's the way that we build golf courses now is by eye and feel, and not necessarily by elevations and grade stakes. So now you can get carried away, like building an approach to a green with some subtle nuance, like bumps or hummocks and hollows. And sometimes you might just build up something too high and it becomes too big when you walk back down the fairway and look, and you're like, oh man, my eye is just totally drifting towards that bump, short right of the front bunker. And it just looks too unproportionate. So I don't know if it's necessarily a mistake, but it's about when you're, starting off on a fairway and tees, and you're building up the fairway, and then you're pushing up the bunkers, everything kind of has to work together, and you try to gain a good perspective from, back in the fairway. So you don't really know if you've got it until you take an hour later, you go for a walk down the fairway, and you've either, the bunker is partially hidden, you have too much dirt in front of the bunker, or the back of the bunker is too big and it looks overwhelming, and the scale is off. So there's lots of those little things. And then, a lot of times when you're new running a bulldozer, you don't necessarily know exactly what you're doing. And so when you're green and just starting out, and you just pushing dirt around, and you're really, I guess you're really just up and down and all over the place. But luckily, if you have a good guy mentoring you and helping you out, he'll tend to like that. Like, I've worked with a few shapers that are new, and they go in front and they build these things, and they're a little bit too much, but they're random. And that's the best thing is when you have variety and random things happen. It's it's easier than racking your brain trying to create something, because there's only a certain amount of golf holes out there. It's hard to stay creative, like there's only like you want a par four. The best way to think about it is, for me, when I build a course, I want you to come off of those 18 holes the first or the second time, and you're able to remember the character of each golf hole. You can be, oh man, I really love that, the green on number 3, or wow, did you see that cross bunker that I almost got into on the 5th hole? And things that stick out to where each hole has its own character, and they're one kind of concept, but they're each different, and it creates a memory for each hole. So that didn't really answer your question too much, but
Hey, that's all right. No, I love it. So you've played a lot of good golf courses in your time. What's the worst golf course you've ever played?
Oh man. Oh, that's a really tough one. There's, I would say, without naming names, because it's all just my opinion, and obviously, coming from Canada, there's a few design firms and architects that had a good run, and this probably applies to America as well, but they had a good run in the heyday of golf course construction in the 80s, 90s, 2000s even, and they were just pumping out courses and pumping out courses. And when you pump out, 100, 200 courses, it's hard to stay creative and keep each course different from the next one. So I like to see different bunker styles that are relative to the piece of land and surrounds of the course. So I can't necessarily say which one, but there's a ton in Canada, that around my area and further into the other provinces, that have the same style of bunkers, and they all just copied and pasted, and that's just, to me, it's just saddening. But in another way, they have houses around them, and it was a ploy to have development and for a developer to make money. So, but then you'll get the guy that's loves that course. He can shoot a 69, and and he just loves it.
I know those courses.
Yeah.
Who is a dream foursome?
Whew. Do they have to be alive?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'd like to say that I'd like to play golf with my old man. I've got to a few times, but we don't get out that often. So my dad, and I'd like to play with Ben Crenshaw again, because it's the tips that he gave me when I was playing with him for the grand opening in Japan. Literally after a few quick tips, I stuck one in an approach with a 6-iron, like not even a foot and a half from the hole.
That's great. I hope you made the putt.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay, good.
That would have been a disgrace. I was nervous. Yeah, and then it's I don't know.
Just say Tiger. That'll make me feel better.
All right, Tiger.
Yeah. Okay. Tiger. If anybody asks me that question, it's Tiger. I don't have time. We only have time for a twosome. I don't have time for anybody else.
Yeah, I know.
We're going to talk about Tiger one more time, real quick. We're almost done here. But Tiger, does he break Jack's record? Why or why not? Be careful how you answer this, because I've really enjoyed our conversation. I don't want to end on a bad note.
Well, it depends on how stem cell research kicks off in the next little while. I think he must be jacking full of it right now, just shooting it right into his back, because I don't know how a body can do what he does, after such a debilitating injury, and to be swinging like that, like he's got to be doing something right. And, as we've talked about, like he's got it. If he wins a few more, tournaments, even just to build up some steam, I think he could, like you can't rule him out. You just can't, because he's proven that, yeah, he can go into a slump, but he can actually come back out of it for even just a short time, or if he can, focus and maintain that, then yeah, I mean, he's already won a bunch of them. So
good answer. Yes, the golf that gets a golf clap. Yes, thank you. And your final question of your hashtag Wednesday match play is, what's next, man? I mean, you sound like you're going to Thailand. That sounds pretty freaking cool.
Well, no, I mean, just I like working with fun people and collaborating with interesting guys who understand golf architecture, and we align philosophically. Basically, my philosophy stems from the golden age architects, and I just want to keep doing that and keep learning from the best in the business, and meeting new interesting young guys and girls that do what I do. And eventually down the line, I'd like to either start up a small firm, or collaborate with a bunch of young, or not even young, just people that want to design and build courses, because that's the best part about designing, is being able to actually get on the bulldozer or the excavator and crafting it yourself. It's like a sculptor. So that's next. Just keep doing what we're doing, and have fun while doing it. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been so much fun getting to learn more about what a shaper does, and I mean, you've got a lot of stories and a lot of experience for as young as you are, and I think you got a very bright future ahead of you. And I heard you say somewhere in there you wanted to build your own golf course, so hopefully one day you get to do that. You get to shape that golf course, and you have Trim manage it. I'm just saying, I know a guy. So if you ever need a good management company at any course that you're involved with, but it's been great having you on. The next time you see Coore and or Crenshaw, let them know. Make sure they see this video, and would love to get them on the show. Maybe we could do a series of the Coore and Crenshaw team and just have them on throughout the season. But it's been fun getting to know more about you and everything that you do. This episode of the hashtag Wednesday Match Play presented by Eat Sleep Golf will be right here on YouTube. It's going to be on iTunes. It's going to be on Google Play. It'll be shared to Facebook and Twitter and Google Plus and the Google Plus golf community. If anybody wants to watch this, it's not hard to find. So Trevor, thank you again for coming on the show. It's been fun getting to know you, and I look forward to learning more about you, maybe teeing it up with you one day soon. And as always, on the hashtag Wednesday Match Play, you have to remember to eat, sleep, golf.